Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are changing the motor on this WhisperFlo pump. This is a really common problem. This one here is a 2016 and we're in 2024. So this one made it 8 years before it gave up on us. We've put a couple of capacitors on it and it's just time to change it. So the first thing we'll do is take these 6 bolts out, and then you can see you just kind of shake on it and pull it apart, and the motor will separate from the housing. So now we'll get this pulled out. We'll see if we can work on it. There are 2 screws that attach this, and it's a hex head. I'm using a little tiny Torx bit here, which works perfect. It comes in this screwdriver with all the multiple bits in it. Works out. It's like one of these Klein multi-tools. I think it's got like 8 or 10 different screwdriver bits, but we'll get that off. And then the next thing we need to do is pull the impeller. And I'm looking here, this is that Torx bit I was showing you. Okay, now we need to get the impeller off. The screw that holds it in place is reverse thread, so keep that in mind as you're loosening it up. It's backwards of what you think. So once we get that pulled out, then we'll take the impeller off. The impeller is normal thread, but the set screw in the middle is a reverse thread. Okay, now we need to take the, we're going to pull the wires off the back so we can get to the back of this motor. We're going to take off the bonding wire. This is a 1/4-inch nut driver. It holds that one. Most of these motors will have this same configuration on the back. And we need to take off the dust cap so we can get to the wires. Before you do any of this, obviously make sure the power's off, but you guys already know that. All right, we'll get in here, and there's a lot of wires on most of these motors, but the main wires, you're going to have a ground. That'll be this green screw over to the side, and then you're going to have 2 hot leads. Most of the motors are 220 volt, and you'll have 2 hot lines. Just to be sure about your configuration, it'll be labeled on the side of the motor where the wires go. It'll tell you L1 and L2. That just stands for your line 1, line 2 coming in. Okay, we'll get the rest of the electrical components off of here. There's all kinds of different ways these are connected. This is one way. A lot of them use the watertight connectors, but I'm not sure who installed this, but we just use what we got. Okay, we've got it completely taken apart. Now we'll set it over here and get the front end off of it. We'll take these 4 screws off of the back of the seal plate. Now these can sometimes be quite a bear to get loose, especially if there's been some water leaking in this pump. The bottom 2, those can be quite a challenge. Okay, now we're working on the impeller. We're going to put a 1/2-inch open end wrench on the back to hold the shaft, and then I use this fancy oil filter wrench. Works great for these impellers. Just pop it on there and break it loose, and then you can spin it off by hand. Once that's off, the seal plate will come loose. Okay, piece of cake. Now we'll get rid of this old motor. We're finished with it, and we'll get the new one in place. If you love camera magic, I mean, that just took like 2 seconds. Okay, next step, we're going to knock the seal out of this old seal plate. And I'll use just something with a smooth head and one of these nut drivers, and then my fancy hammer. Pops right out. You can see it there. And then also be sure you can check these inserts, these brass inserts on the back of the seal plate. If any of them are cracked or pulled loose, then just go ahead and replace that seal plate. Next, we'll pull the ceramic seal out of the back side of the impeller. Just use a screwdriver to pry that out. It's got a little rubber seal and a ceramic piece. Now we're going to put it back together. Now this is a 1-inch pipe fitting, and your seal, oh wait, we're not there yet. This is the box that holds the seal. Just kind of clean that up, prep it for putting it back together. Okay, take the metal seal, and we use a 1-inch coupling, PVC, and that seal fits perfectly in there. Now, I like to use a little bit of this glue. It's Anderson's flexible sealer. It'll set up underwater. It stays rubbery. Works perfect for these seals. Just a little extra insurance. You do not have to use it. I like to put it on there because I just want to make 100% sure this thing doesn't leak after I leave. And then we'll kind of press that back in, then tap it in again with my hammer. Some of you guys might call that a wrench. It's a wrench. It's a hammer. It's all kinds of things. Magical tool there. We'll get that tapped in place. Then we'll press the seal back in the back of the impeller. Now, it's important on both of these seals that you don't touch the shiny part. Don't touch that white part with your finger. And I like to use the instructions that come with it to press that seal in. That way I don't get any grease or anything from my hands on it. And we're going to begin to put this thing back together. We'll put the seal plate on, and I just loosely set it up there. And then I'll go ahead and spin this impeller on. Let me get it where you guys can see. There we go. We'll just spin the impeller back on. Now I've got to take this dust cap off the back. These newer motors have a metal dust cap. It can be a little bit of a pain to get off. It's just a 1/4-inch nut driver to take the 2 screws out. Set that aside. Now these have a 7/16 shaft on the end of it. 7/16 there, and you'll see the shaft right in the middle. And then you slide that wrench in from the side, and that'll hold it in place, just like that. And then we're going to tighten that impeller back up. Just like so. And then we'll tighten the set screw in the middle. Remember, it is reverse thread, so you're gonna be counterintuitive. You'll think it needs to tighten, but you're actually going to go reverse thread. Now we're going to put our 4 bolts back in it. I actually like to stand this up. Oh, yeah, sometimes the bolts will have some calcium-like buildup in it. It's just oxidation from the stainless steel screws going through that aluminum pump housing, and it causes that oxidation to get on the bolts. So clean those up good, put everything back together, just like so. Okay, then we'll put the diffuser cone back on it, tighten those screws up, and we'll set it back in place. Now, a lot of times I'll go ahead and put the wires on first. Just depends on how much room I've got behind the pump. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get to them. Put those screws in there. Tighten all that up. A little camera magic, just takes a few seconds. Okay, then the only thing left is to connect the wire. We'll connect the wire to the back. And then we're going to have our new connections to the motor, and it's going to be just like the old one that we took out of there. You're going to have 2 main terminals in the center and then 1 ground. So just reconnect your green wire to the ground and the other 2 to L1 and L2. Button everything back up. Connect our bonding wire. These new pumps connect on top. Okay, now we're going to prime this pump. A little secret is just loosen the lid and release the air pressure gauge on top of your filter tank, and it'll fill that pod up for you. It's kind of awesome. And then we'll turn it on. There we go. All done. Thanks for watching.